evening, ladies and gentlemen. You are watching and listening to Historian Radio's Echoes of the News. And I am Muhammad Hussain Qazi, and these are today's headlines from the past. On this day, in 1415, in the area of Calais, just north of France, the Battle of Agincourt took place. One of the many battles of the Hundred Years' War. In the Battle of Agincourt, Henry V's longbowmen routed the superior French knights on St. Crispin's Day. This would be one of the most significant battles in the history of the Hundred Years' War. Continuing on this date, in 1854, on the subject of war, Lord Cardigan led the charge of the Light Brigade during the Battle of Balaclava in the Crimean War. An ambiguous order from Commander Lord Raglan led Cardigan's brave cavalry to charge the Russians while fire came from three different sides. As one of the generals was heard to remark as the courageous soldiers suffered heavy casualties, "C'est magnifique, mais ce n'est pas la guerre." This would be one of history's most disastrous commands and disastrous orders to ever take place, and it would result in the deaths of hundreds, if not thousands, of soldiers. Continuing on this date, in 1936, the first radio request program was broadcast. The station in Berlin introduced You Ask, We Play. The first British request program was from My Post Bag on 19th May 1939. While today a request-based radio program is all too common, back in its day, during its initial broadcasts, this would be a significant moment in the history of radio programming and radio broadcasts. And continuing on this topic, in 1961, the first edition of Private Eye, the British satirical magazine, was published. This is one of Britain's most iconic satirical magazines. And so its publication on this day in 1961 is truly a significant date. And lastly, in 1971, on this very day, Taiwan was expelled from the United Nations to make way for the admission of the People's Republic of China. This would take place on this very day in 1971. Truly, this would be a significant moment in the history of ties between Taiwan and China. Taiwan was also known as the Republic of China, as this would be the island on which the Kuomintang nationalist government would flee in 1949 when the People's Republic of China was proclaimed on mainland China. Now we move on to the next segment of our show, where we recount the famous births and deaths of famous figures from the 19th and 20th centuries and sometimes earlier. Born on this day in 1825 was Johann Strauss Jr., best known for composing waltzes such as the Blue Danube. His birth is celebrated by musicians all over the world, specifically so classical musicians. On this day in 1400, Geoffrey Chaucer, one of the greatest English poets, died in his leased house in the gardens of Westminster Abbey. His masterpiece, the Canterbury Tales, would remain unfinished. He would pass away, unfortunately, on this day in 1400. And on that unfortunate note, we conclude today's headlines of the day. You are watching and listening to Historian Radio's Echoes of the News, and I am Muhammad Hussain Qazi, and these were today's headlines as history first heard them. Good night.